Hare Krishna. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 9, answers by citing the Lord's version, and we're on text number 3. But first let me offer my obeisances unto Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Son of Vasudeva, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I meditate upon that transcendent reality who is the primeval cause of all causes, from whom all manifested universes arise, in whom they dwell, and by whom they are destroyed. I meditate upon that eternally effulgent Lord, who is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations and is yet beyond them. It is He who first imparted Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahma, the first created being, and through him this world, like a mirage, appears real, even to great sages and demigods. And because of him, the material universes created by the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I meditate, therefore, upon him, the absolute truth, who is eternally existent in his transcendental abode, and who is forever free of illusion. Lord Shri Krishna ki jai. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth which is understandable by those devotees who are pure at heart. Highest truth, reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Sri Vyasadeva, is sufficient in itself for God realization. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears this message of Srimad Bhagavatam, he becomes attached to the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. Text number 3, beautiful verse. Yarhi Rana Mahi Nandi Se Parasmin Kala Mayaya Rameta Gata Samohas Taktvo Dashte Tato Bayam. And this is Sukadeva Goswami speaking. As soon as the living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory and begins to enjoy the transcendence beyond time and material energy, he at once gives up the two misconceptions of life, mine and I, and thus becomes fully manifested as the pure self. As soon as the living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory, the soul is rather, in the material world, is rather his importance is very minimized, in the sense that there's an unlimited number of jivas in the material world, and most of them are engaged in activities which are very ordinary. So most jivas become just like ordinary jivas. So to become into one's constitutional glory means that one actually changes his identity from I and mine to everything is for Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. I am Krishna's eternal servitor, and I want to be engaged in that service eternally. And therefore, then he gains his constitutional glory, and he becomes a little, as I usually used to put it, a little something. That was always cute. He said, we become a little something, we become Krishna's devotee. Not that we become, like Lord Brahma or something, but we become a little something. The constitutional glory. So when it becomes glorious, that means that when he takes his rightful position as a servitor of Krishna and becomes completely surrendered to Krishna, he automatically begins to talk about Krishna. And that makes him a little bit glorious. See, that's his constitutional glory. And he begins to enjoy transcendence beyond time and material energy. He begins to see everything through a transcendental eye, through the third eye. He doesn't see just with these two material eyes, that everything is mine. This body is me, I, and everything is mine, that I look out from these two eyes. He begins to see with the third eye, that's the transcendental eye. The eye that shows you everything as it really is. That nothing is mine, actually, and this body is not me. So in this way, he begins to enjoy a life of transcendence rather than the temporary flickering happiness that is found in the material world through the material senses, thinking that everything I see out there is for my enjoyment. And that's very flickering, and it's full of sticky karma. You be careful what you do, because some of this karma will stick to you, and there's no way to get rid of it. You carry it on to your next life and be born with some reaction that can be very unpleasant. So there's no real enjoyment there. If everything is in the material world, there's no real enjoyment. If everything that you do, you have to be so careful. You can't just be like spontaneously crazy in the material world and do whatever you want to do, because something, a little voice inside says that there's something, I might have to pay for this, and I might have some it's going to cost something. And yeah, everybody knows that somehow deep inside they get this little message. Super Soul is always putting out messages. He's always telling you, this is good, this is good, this is bad. Don't do it. So in this way, you carry it on. In the material world, flickering happiness, and the happiness is really very inconsistent, because you always have to worry about what you're doing. You always have to analyze, is this good or is this bad? You can't just be spontaneous. If you become spontaneous, you become locked in the material world. You become spontaneously locked into the material energy. Whereas to enjoy that state of transcendence means that you are living a life of real freedom. Krishna has now freed you from I and mine, and you're living in a life of transcendence, which is free from karma. So therefore you can actually act very spontaneously and very wonderfully. You don't have to worry about anymore whether this is going to cause a bad reaction. You don't have to analyze anything, because everything you're doing is out of love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore there is no karma involved. It's just love exchange between the Supreme Soul and the individual soul. Got it? Got it. Okay. We'll get to the purport eventually here. So he at once gives up those two misconceptions of life, I and mine, and becomes fully manifested as the pure self. The pure self sees through a special eye. He sees the world very differently than a person who is not so situated, situated in duality. Person in duality sees with two eyes. Person in transcendence, he has those two eyes, but he sees with a third eye. And he sees everything very clearly. Because now he is established as a pure self. Purport, Srila Prabhupada. The two misconceptions of life, namely I and mine, are verily manifested in two classes of men. In the lower state of conception of mine is very important, very prominent, and in the higher state of misconception of I is prominent. In the animal state of life, the misconception of mine is perceivable even in the category of cats and dogs, and they fight with one another with the same misconception of this is mine. In the lower stage of human life, the same misconception is also prominent in the shape of it is my body, it is my house, it is my family, it is my caste, it is my nation, it is my country, and so on and so on. And in the higher stage, formed into I am, or it is all I am, or I, etc. There are many classes of men comprehending the same misconception of I and mine in different colors. But the real significance of such I can only be realized when one is situated in the consciousness of I am the eternal servitor of the Lord. I am the eternal servitor of the Lord. That's the general and generic definition of every jiva in the material world. But some jivas, they have to be under the spell of illusion because they're actually sustaining the universe. And somebody has to sustain the universe. They can all become realized souls, right? So somebody has to stay back. Somebody has to come back again and again and again and again to sustain the universe. Otherwise, it won't go on anymore, and then we wouldn't need the material world anymore, which probably wouldn't be that bad of an idea. But anyway, the idea that the sustaining the universe, but the realized soul, he's no longer in that category of a little jiva sustaining the universe. He's come into his constitutional glory of being the eternal servitor of Krishna. So therefore, his identity is more special because he has freed himself. Somehow he's understood. He has understood that I have to become a liberated soul. I cannot stay in this material energy any longer. I don't want to be just another jiva sustaining the universe. And that's what it is. All the jiva, the trees and animals, insects and so forth. And it's a kind of a strange thing to watch, because I watch the bees, we have beehives, and I watch the bees, and their lifespan is so short, really. It's only like 5-6 weeks. And all they do is work, And then you see them, the dead bodies sometimes on the platform, where they die in the hive, and the other bees drag them out and they set them on the platform, and sometimes they shove them off onto the ground, And so it's just what kind of life is that, And when they even watch them when they die, they don't really. There's not like a lot of suffering or anything. It's like if they get too much water or something, and they just kind of just stop moving. That's it. They just stop moving, But to watch that cycle, to be able to see that cycle in life as every day, you see how the universe is being sustained, because that little soul in that bee goes into another body, maybe another bee, maybe it becomes the queen bee or something, from just an ordinary maidservant bee to a queen bee or something. But it's going somewhere, and it's going to go into the sustaining the universe in some way. So we don't want to be jivas that sustain this universe anymore. There's plenty others that can do the job. We don't need to be in that category. We want to be liberated souls. We want to have our glorious identity as pure selves in the spiritual kingdom. So I'm going to stop here at this one paragraph, and that will be it for today. Hare Krishna. I enjoyed it.